Hello everybody, shift your mindset here and I'm happy to do this video because I like healing, I like growing, I like learning and I want to grow every day. Every day I want to be a better version of myself. So that's why I was thinking about it in the car just a few minutes ago and I thought we have to change how we talk to ourselves. That's the key for everything else and everything else falls in place. Why? Because most of us, maybe a lot of us who are watching, whether you're in the religion, whether you're out the religion, you're PMO, you're PME, whatever you are, we have some version of ourselves, a harsh version with a lot of inner critic. We have that version in us. And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you have that version? Because all that we have been told by the organization is that we are born bad, that we never can do enough. If you are happy with 4 hours of ministry, some elder is coming to you and said, hey, maybe do you want to work together? Maybe we can do some more hours in the ministry. If you are giving your best and you're not at the meeting, someone is coming to you to encourage you to come to the meetings instead of whatever. It's never enough. Whatever you're doing, if you are an elder, circuit overseer, it's never enough. You can always do more. We have learned that God's kindness is undeserved. And there are many more examples. So it's normal. Why wouldn't we are our biggest critics to ourselves? And this, I found out, is one of the most dominant voices in your head. Always the critical voice inside of yourself. So it was important for me to do this topic because everything else will fall into place if you understand this one. And we all know that dominant voice because we were growing up as a JW and we know even if we left, we can immediately know this voice. When you do something, what's wrong with you? You are stupid. You are lazy. You are not enough. You're a broken piece of whatever. What's the point of me doing this? I will never succeed. Everybody around me is doing so much better than me. Why? Why, God? Why am I in so much problems? And other people are they're flowing everything to life. It's easy for them. Why it's so hard for me? Why? And stuff like that. So we're always told from that harsh voice that we're broken, that we're damaged goods, that we are not enough. And that brings us anxieties, fears, whatever your experience in this life. So why are we doing this? Why are we having these voices, this voice of inner critic inside of us? I found 3 reasons and I wrote it down. These voices we have are internalized thanks to the watchtower and tracked society. It's a persistent message of the watchtower that we are not good enough. We have to do more hours, we have to do more study, we have to do more, what I said before, more. But also parents who say to us, why are you doing this? You wanna die in Armageddon? Who had parents like that? My parents told me that once. We also feeling ashamed a lot. Why? Because our parents were hitting us when we did something wrong, even maybe physical abuse. And the funny thing is, and I remember it because my father slapped me on the chair in the congregation in front of everybody, and I felt ashamed. And in that time, you need your parents because it's a matter of life or death. Your survival is dependent on your parents. So what do? You adjust your behavior and you think you're the problem and it's your fault. But it wasn't your fault, but that's what's happening. And I know one story, and we all can relate maybe. Let me know in the comments how many people experience this. I was experienced, and a friend of mine, still young, dragged down to the back room by his father, and on the way to the back of the Kingdom Hall, he was screaming, "No, Dad, don't hit me again. No, I don't want to be hit. I don't want to be hit again." And he was screaming out loud because he knew what was coming. And do you remember the reaction of the whole congregation? They were all laughing out loud, and even the speaker stopped and laughed, and they were all turning their heads and they were laughing, and they even talked with each other over that subject after the meeting, and they find it funny. But is it funny? Are you a loving parent if you treat your children that way in front of the whole congregation? And your school and your congregation is your life at that moment, at that young of an age. You don't go out in society, so you go to school, you go to the congregation. So those people around you are your life, and your life is depending on all those people. And those people are laughing at you, and you feel ashamed to the bone. Is that a loving arrangement to grow children? To educate children? No. So the second one is a core shame. Because children only want to be loved. Children want to be appreciated by the parents, also by the people in the congregation. Because we call each other brother and sister, and I'm sick of those names, a brother, a sister, but that's your whole playing field, the congregation. So we want to be loved, we want to be appreciated as young children. But we think there is something wrong with us as a child. So that's why that voice is still present maybe inside of you. The third thing is, what I could come up with is, you think you're slipping if you're not performing. That also played a big role in my life. I had to keep the ship running. I had to keep towing the line. It was being hard for yourself in an unhealthy way. Because you think everything is falling apart if I don't do this. It's like a slave driven voice inside of you, and you have to turn that one off. It doesn't suit you anymore. So, how to shift your mindset, people? How to turn it around? We have a little bit of background about the harsh critical voice inside of us. Always to do better, always to do more, always to compete with others. How do we turn it around? For me, it's like a meeting you can have on your work. You have a meeting in a meeting room, and they have maybe 10 people and the CEO of the company. And all those people represent your voices inside of you. So person number one is your voice, hard on itself. You have one person who is the cynical one. You have one person in that room who's the optimistic one. You have one person who's the fearful one, of who experiences anxiety, stuff like that. All of those voices want to be heard by the CEO of the company. And we have to become the CEO of our mind. The one who's making the final decision about what to do. But all voices or all person in a meeting room are in their place, because anger sometimes is good. If someone is hurting a loved one from you, it's normal to get angry. But it's misplaced when someone is making an honest mistake. You ask for a certain type of sandwich, and instead of ham they put on anchovies. They made an honest mistake. Is anger then in place to be angry at that person? No, that person made an honest mistake. So then it's not in place. But the problem starts, and I say it every time, with not having imbalance. Not having balance between those voices. And that's why we have most of the time a dominant one. And we have to focus on that one, the dominant one. Why? Because we all, the people who worked and were in meetings, we all have that one colleague who always want to attract the attention of the CEO. Having the loudest mouth, always interrupting other people, just to be the dominant person in that room. And the CEO, that's you. And it can help you to see yourself as a loving, caring, I'm in Africa, so I will say a mama or a papa lion. You can take a mama or papa bear, you can take whatever you want, just an animal, whatever you like, that's caring for his son, daughter, whatever. Because they know how to treat children. If you look at a mama or a daddy lion, Mufasa, whatever you want, they are protective and caring. Father provides food for the whole family. When he comes home, the cubs are playing with him, and he's teaching them how to be protective, maybe for later. the mama lion, no one gets near her cubs without her approval. If there's other males coming into the territory and the male lion is gone because he's hunting, then the mama lion will fight to the death, the lioness will fight to the death to get those other males out of the territory, to chase them away, and the cubs, giving time for the cubs to run away and to hide, because other males will invade the territory and kill the cubs immediately because they want their own offspring. So think about a nice example of someone who's loving and caring. Because loving parents are talking nice to kids. I saw a loving parent here in the neighborhood. The kid was just on the first time on the bike and it fell, and they were running towards it and they gave him a hug, they helped him, they say, oh, you were doing so good and don't give up, you will get the hang in it. Never give up, no problem. We put a band-aid on it and you get a little ice cream, whatever, but they were loving and caring. They never said to him, oh, you suck. You can't do one thing right. You're going to die in Armageddon. Do you want that? So think about you as CEO like a caring and loving mother or father figure. And if someone wants to hurt your child, you're gonna stand up for it. You're gonna protect it. You're gonna say, I give you 5 seconds to go away, and otherwise, maybe you threaten someone if that life of your child is in danger. If someone is saying bad things to your child, you say to your child, don't listen to it. You're good enough. You always will be good enough. Whatever you do, you're always good enough for me. And that's being CEO of your mind, to shift your mind. And take this example of a mama or papa lion or whatever you want to choose and make it your dominant voice. The one who's making the final decision, but in a kind, loving way. Because we have to cultivate and to practice this voice. Because the harsh, critical voice is not going away on its own. He can say, you're making a mess out of this. And when you hear that critical voice, just be the CEO and said, okay, I hear you. I hear you are upset. What you want to tell us? Yeah, you suck and you're not good enough and you're broken, you're damaged goods and stuff like that. Then you can say, okay, yeah, I made a mistake, but I need to take action and correct it. But the dominant voice will go on and on and on if you don't stop it. Because then it says, yeah, but you are being a failure and you this, you that. You have to stop as if you have someone who's speaking bad to your child. You stop that person also. So as the CEO, you have to stop yourself and say to yourself, we don't do it, stop. You don't speak to my inner child or to me in that way. And at first your dominant voice is not used to be corrected. But maybe it's giving you a tantrum from inside. It keeps on going, It's getting a tantrum. But we have to tune that voice out. And we don't want to argue with that voice. And then he goes on and on and on and on and on. That's a never-ending story. So Don't argue with the dominant voices inside of your head. Shift your mindset to the CEO voice you want to nurture. And for me, always it's a help when I think of whose voice am I hearing? Because I know it's out of some sort of protection, but that was protection while I was a little child. I'm now full grown. Maybe that situation isn't present anymore, so why it's protecting me? Whose voice is this? Which voice is it? And maybe you can approach your problems in a different way now. So it's like, which voice are you feeding? And I always have the example of the white wolf and the black wolf. And the little Indian kid asked to his grandfather, which wolf is the strongest? And he said, the one you feed. So which voice is gonna dominate your life? Let it be that loving, caring, nurturing voice of your own. That you are taking control of all the things, what's going on in your mind. But you have to shift your mindset. That's why I love my channel so much. Shift your mindset, because that's what it's all about. We have to put our foot down on those dominant voices who create imbalance in our lives, who are letting us feel that we are not good enough. Even if you sit under a tree the whole day, you're doing nothing, you are already good enough. And no one can take that away from you. It's like that Lord of the Rings movie, where that guy is constantly giving advice at the king. What's his name? Wormtongue. That's his name, Wormtongue. And you see the king transforming into an old, dusty, gray hair looking, wordless king, because Wormtongue is yapping in his ear with false information, but he is the dominant voice. And there's a moment in the movie that he say, no, it's enough. And he kicks Wormtongue out of the castle and disappears. And then the king gets his nice hair back, and he's glowing, and his strength comes back, everything comes back, because he kicked out Wormtongue with his yapping voice, his dominant voice, who was interfering with his personal and mental health. So people, try to find your dominant voice. What is it? Are you? Most of the time we are our own critics. It's never good enough. We have to toe the line. We have to keep the ship running. We are so hard for ourselves. And that's what we got growing up as a Jehovah's Witness. But I assure you, it's time to let it go. So inspect your own mindset and let me know in the comments how you're gonna transform it. I hope I gave you some advice, because you are already good enough, whatever you do. So don't listen to the dominant voice, and just be cool and sexy for the rest of the day. Thank you, people, and we see each other on the next episode.